The town of Berlin. Country charm at the center of Connecticut.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Roll call, Kate.
Councilor Angelo Kostexon.
Here.
Councilor Daniele.
Here.
Councilor Giannoni. Mayor Kaczynski.
Here.
Councilor Luddy.
Here.
Councilor Pagliaro.
Here.
I've been saying it all day today.
It's
Sorry,
quite
Karen.
okay.
And Councilor Rosso.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you, Kate. We'll start with our audience of citizens. So if anyone wishes to address us, now would be your time. Yes, Len. First up.
Hi, I'm Len Zielinski. I'm speaking as Chairman of the Parks and Recreation Commission. I started my involvement with Park and Recreation back in 1983 when Les Zimmerman used to run a recreational soccer program. He was the Griswold School PE instructor. I helped him out with the middle school group. At that time, there were probably about 180 youngsters in the program, and only about 10 of them were girls. In '84, based on what we learned from '83, we founded Berlin Youth Soccer Association. And one of the main intents back then was to come up with a program that wasn't co-ed, that the girls would be able to play independently in the same league as the boys. And I mean, that's been, the success has been, I think, obvious with the recent tournament run that the girls' high school team ran. Over the past years, well, basically since I got appointed in '85, so this coming January I will have served for 33 years, approximately 18 years as the Park and Rec Chairman. We've seen a lot of changes. We've seen fields come online, parks, field lighting, artificial turf, and an improved codification of policies and applying statistics to the Park and Rec Department. We just received our applications to apply for reappointment, and after talking with my wife, I've elected that I'm going to retire at this point. I'm not going to apply. I've had the pleasure of serving with a real dedicated group of volunteers who are the volunteers, let's face it, are the lifeblood of our community. It's been rewarding, lots of fun, and in the end, after all this time, I hope I made a difference. And just one other comment, Amy was one of the first young ladies to play.
Wow. Well, thank you, Len. I know we'll be talking to you again, I'm sure, but thank you for all those years of service, volunteering, and everything you have done. We all know how much that means to our community, the volunteers, with all the commissions and the council and all of us. It's a lot of work, so we appreciate all that dedication to the town. And we'll be talking to you again, though, shortly, I'm sure. Okay, anyone else wish to speak in our audience of citizens? Seeing no one, I will go ahead and close the audience of citizens, and we will move on to our meeting agenda. We start with our consent agenda. I know all the councilors have received the package and have reviewed the consent agenda. And if we take a motion on the consent items 1 through 4.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the 4 items in the consent agenda in front of us tonight.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so moved. Thank you. All right, we have a public hearing tonight. I hereby convene the public hearing for the $3 million sewer infiltration and inflow appropriation and bond ordinance. The ordinance, which is the subject of this public hearing, is available to the public and may be obtained at this meeting from the town clerk. Is there a motion and a second to read the title of the following proposed ordinance and to waive the reading of the remainder of the ordinance, incorporating its full text into the minutes of this meeting?
So done.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion passes.
I'm sorry, who seconded that?
Me.
Karen.
Oh, Karen, thank
You
you.
have to say her name.
Say her name, you have to say her name again, Kate, all night until
There we
you
are.
got, all right, there we go, got it. Okay, very good, very good.
Thank you.
All right, so an ordinance appropriating $3 million for the town of Berlin sewer line inflow and infiltration reduction program, 2017, and authorizing the issue of $3 million bonds of the town to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance therefore, the making of temporary borrowing therefore. So, right, this is a public hearing, folks, so if there's any comments from the public about our sewer plan, now's the time. Okay, I see no hands, no one's rushing to the podium, all right. So hearing no public comments, I call the public hearing on the $3 million sewer infiltration and inflow bond ordinance closed. Thank you very much. And now we move on to new business. So item number 1.
Item number 1 under new business is to basically pass an ordinance for appropriating $3 million for the town of the Berlin sewer line inflow and infiltration reduction program, and authorizing the issue of the $3 million bond of the town to meet the said appropriation pending the issuance thereof, making temporary borrowing thereof. Rachel Raymond's here to talk about that.
Yeah.
This is for the Belcher Brook interceptor, and what it's about is many of the sewer lines are, as they age, we start to get inflow. We have water clean water coming from the soil into the pipes, and it increases the amount of waste that we discharge to the Mattabesset district. In October, in Rankin and Lavery, we got 2 letters from the Mattabesset district indicating that our daily flow during those heavy storms exceeded our permitted flow. We're required to maintain our sewer system and to prevent as much inflow and infiltration as we can. This is the next step. I believe we did Webster Square several years ago, and this is our next step to work on that type of project.
Okay, Ray, welcome.
Welcome and congratulations to everybody that was re-elected and elected. The Belcher Brook one is about 2.2 miles of relining. And as Jack pointed out, we just got a letter from Art Simonian, Executive Director for Mattabesset, indicating that the October 25th and October 29th, which were unusual rainstorms, he peaked at 9.6 MGD per day. That's 9.6 million gallons of water, or sewage actually. And we typically only use 1.1 per day. So that's a peak flow. We don't have an average flow, but it's indicative that there's some substantial infiltration going on. The Belcher Brook one, I've actually looked at the camera work and seen, visually seen areas where there is lining and problems where basically you can see the materials coming in. All the manholes are fairly old. Belcher Brook was put in about 1970, and since then has not had any upgrade of any kind. The relining process would increase the interior diameter a little bit, but also it has integrity so that the existing line, if it fell apart, the existing relining would be strong enough for integrity to keep up with it. So it would be either close to 50 to 100 year additional life longevity to that pipeline. I can answer any questions you might potentially have.
Okay, questions from the council?
Just if our attorney would explain for the benefit for us new people what waiving Rule 7 is.
Yeah, I was going to do that next week. Yeah, we can do that now. Just
The purpose of waiving the rule is to avoid the notice period that's required. I think it's 15 days notice.
yeah, I mean typically we have waited a couple weeks after we do the public hearing like this on a bond issuance or any other public hearings
Before you vote on it, right?
before we vote. So, because you want to get started with this, right, I think?
We'd like to go to bid in January. We were originally thinking December, but the way it was worked out, it's going to be closer to January.
Right, and now, obviously, it has to go to the finance board after us, so I think their meeting is next week, so.
I did want to point out one additional item. We did ask for $3 million because we thought it was a conservative fee, but when we go out to bid, potentially it could be quite a bit lower. We were hoping closer to 2.5.
Oh, okay, great. Well, that's good to hear.
If I may
Yeah.
just
Yes.
address that, and that is, in your rules and procedures, Rule 7 is that you can take the ordinance up the same night. Bonding attorney has asked that you be overly cautious, and if you are going to take it up the same night, to waive that rule. But if you have a regular ordinance, you know, something, you know, as far as now you're going to have cats licensed or something, then you can take it up that night without waiving Rule 7. All right, that's been the history. There was a prior council member who liked to have the stretch of the 2 weeks in between to make sure you could get public comment, but there's nothing wrong with taking it up tonight. You'll normally do that on a regular ordinance. Okay?
The reason we're asking for this tonight is, this needs to go to the Board of Finance, and they meet between this meeting and your next meeting. The idea is that we'd like to go out to bid, all the plans and specs have been written. We'd like to take this out to bid in early January. That allows us to schedule this so we get the bids back end of February, early March, and we're able to start the project in April. We use the construction season April going forward. So for timing purposes, it works well if we're able to waive Rule 7 and go forward after tonight.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take the Rule 7 vote in a moment, but while you're here, Ray, I know we will take the Rule 7 vote, and then we'll go ahead and take a motion on the ordinance. But I just have a question. You know, we received a letter from Tom Lasker, I guess, from he's on the Water Control Commission. I did speak to him today, but I was reading in our document that one of his concerns about payment from the other two fire districts is
We're
covered?
actually looking into that. Tom, he's one of the commissioners on the Berlin Water Control Commission, and is also my neighbor.
Okay.
So I do hear a lot from him,
Oh,
actually,
good. Good for you. Yeah.
beyond what the daily requirement here is.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point of it is that he had brought up the concern, and we're actually looking at this again because we originally thought that the main portion of the flow is ours. It's Berlin Water Controls it, and this is a main trunk line. However, there is a contribution from the Worthington Fire District. As I mentioned in an earlier situation, they balked on any kind of work last time. This time we can't afford it because we did see some additional flow coming in, so we are looking at potentially asking them for, well, not asking them, actually billing them for a portion of it, because there is a portion that comes from their service area. Also, Kensington, in fact, I was looking at that this afternoon, and there's a portion that comes from Kensington, quite a bit less, but still a portion. So we think we might be able to drive down the cost a little bit by having those two additional entities participate in this process, which I think they should, because, as I mentioned earlier, mobilization, bringing the whole process here first saves a lot of money. And for them to do some additional work is just minor. It's a minor cost involved.
Right, and have we, so, I mean, in reading the document here, that we billed them before, those two districts, for other projects, or have we not done that before?
And I'm not familiar with the 2012 because that's prior to my coming on board, but there was a contribution by both entities at then, Kensington and Worthington, but they basically turned around and didn't do their whole commitment. So that was a little bit of a disconcerting situation because their system is actually older than ours. I've been doing some historical analysis, and their system, and I was just telling Kate the other day that was in a document that she found, she gave to me. It was reported back in 1952 that they should be doing relining. They haven't done any relining since '52. So add that time to the present time.
That's interesting.
So it's a little bit of a concern from our perspective that these two entities probably really need to do more than they've been doing.
Right. And these two entities, I think, aren't they chartered by state law, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, they are. They were both chartered in 1923, basically.
23.
Actually, there were three of them at the time. East Berlin was
Right,
another
East Berlin.
district at the time, and then went defunct, I guess is the best way to put it.
So, the town really, right, has no, I mean, you're
Well, we're looking at it. I found a little...
oversight?
Some interesting historical caveats that I shared with Jack, and we think we might have some pressure points, so, which is a little bit interesting. The original law established them for fire protection, but there are also requirements beyond that in the ordinance, which Kate is going to be looking up as well, that required quite a bit more than fire protection and water supply. So, and I don't believe that they've been doing that, so.
One of the concerns is, one of our concerns is we have to distribute the cost of the Metabassett bill annually amongst the three districts. There used to be prior to Ray and my getting, but it was a complicated spreadsheet that was used to try to allocate those funds back. We've simplified it, and one of the assumptions you have to make, because there's not sufficient metering throughout the system, is you have to assume that all the I&I is equal among the three districts. We don't feel it is. We're lining, we're trying to line our pipes, but part of what Ray's talking about, we may have to go back eventually and start doing some additional metering to see whether or not the amount of, because your bill is directly related to the amount of flow you send. It's proportional. So right now, what we're saying is that we have to take and say that everybody's I&I is equal among the three districts.
Right.
We don't have any basis to measure that on. So eventually, we're going to have to go back and look at that.
Okay. Because obviously the cost to this bond issuance is for the water, the water bill. It's going to be in our water bill, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
It's a little bit disconcerting because it was a $22.50 per charge, a surcharge per quarter, and that's a substantial amount of money. But we're hoping with the additional reevaluation, potentially we can get it down to quite a bit less. The Webster Square one was $10 per quarter, so that was considerably. But then again, all three systems at the time worked cooperatively to try to get that cost down.
So we're going to meet with the other two, I mean, how do we...
We will try to meet with the other two, yes.
Yeah.
Boards, their board, right?
First, we have to generate some data. Cardinal Engineering forwarded to Ray today a proposal on two alternatives as far as measuring the inflow, or their influence, to be able to proportionally allocate back the cost. So, once we have that information, we would meet with them.
So who, no one oversees them, but the state? Or who oversees,
Well,
I mean, they haven't lined their pipes since
they're a
1952.
quasi-municipality in essence, because there is under a special act as a fire district. That's how they were originally established.
So they're their own municipality in essence
correct.
for these services.
Yeah, and basically they operate with, independently. And as I understand it, I've been looking at some of their annual reports, very few people show up, and so that very, very, very little oversight and control.
It's interesting. Okay, well, that's probably an issue for another day, but
Very much.
appreciate the
Definitely.
information, and glad that hopefully they will pay their proportionate share, since they're using obviously the money we will be appropriating, we will be bonding for, which will affect both of their water systems as well. So, other questions for Ray while he's here? Any questions on anything else? Okay, so let's move forward. First of all, we will move forward with a motion to waive Rule 7. Take a motion on that?
Okay, motion to move to waive Rule 7 of the Town Council Rules and Procedures.
Okay, we have a second. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so moved. And now we have a motion that the ordinance...
Okay, move to adopt an ordinance appropriating $3 million for the Town of Berlin Sewer Line Inflow and Infiltration Reduction Program for 2017, and authorize the issue of $3 million of bonds of the town to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings therefore.
Okay. Thank you. And now, any further council discussion? We'll take a vote.
Okay.
Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I declare the ordinance adopted.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
8-24 referral.
We've got one more.
No, is there another one?
Yes, there is. Okay, I will move to refer the proposal for the sewer infiltration and inflow reduction project 2017 Belcher Brook to the Planning and Zoning Commission for review pursuant to Section 824 of the general statutes.
Okay, second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Okay.
And good luck to the Board of Finance. Comes off to the Board of Finance next, so.
Okay, agenda item number 2. I think you all know that there's a lot of changes being done. Even after we had the state budget passed in the last 3 weeks, we're continuing to get more and more changes. Kevin Delaney is here to update you on those changes and what the impact is to the town budgets.
Good evening.
Welcome. Your job's been easy lately, huh?
Yeah, it's been
Easy.
fun.
Yeah.
So you received a spreadsheet. I don't want to spend too much time on it. I tried to circle the 3 key numbers on the spreadsheet. As we look at the state budget impact, what was initially passed by the legislature and signed by the governor, the impact was minimal to the town. It was essentially, we had a reduction versus prior year, but we had budgeted for a reduction and we were in good shape. On November 17th, the governor enacted a piece of the budget that was required, which was essentially some holdbacks and lapses. The bottom number that you see in the gray box is a little bit over $586,000 was the impact to the town. Almost all of that impact, just under $546,000 of that was a reduction in the education cost sharing grant. Where that left us was year over year for the general fund down just over $1.3 million. Having accounted for some of the reduction, that leaves us at about $618,000 short of the revenue that was budgeted in the budget that we're operating under right now. So that kind of lays the groundwork of where we stand today. We are seeing our interest income coming in a little bit better than we had budgeted. So I would say right now, where we stand, we have about a $600,000 gap that we have to address. One thing I would caution before I go into what the options really are before us, you're probably all very much aware that the comptroller certified what OPM had said a little while ago, that the state has a little bit over $200 million shortfall in revenues at this point. Given the CBAC agreement that was signed and the limitations that places on the governor to make changes related to state labor, I would caution that this may not be the last discussion that we have on municipal aid. It's unfortunate, but it is unfortunately where we're operating today. The town and the Board of Ed have been meeting several times since the summer as the state worked through the budget and reviewing various alternatives. And now we're in a situation where we have a decent feel of what the numbers are. Again, they could move around. Before I get into the options, I will share some good news. It's probably the only piece I'm going to be able to share. As you look through the list of grants, one of them is a municipal stabilization grant. It's a new grant this year. For anybody familiar with the state from a few years ago, it's basically the equivalent of the hold harmless grant that used to exist. We actually received the cash this week. So the good news is that grant, unless they want to bill us, they can't adjust that grant. We did also receive the pilot grant, but since it was $409, we didn't get too excited about it.
Very nice.
So where we are left with potential risk going forward would be to grants for municipal projects and ECS. The remaining other 2 grants are so small. It's possible they could adjust the grants for municipal aid, but the bonding that underlies the funding for that for the state was approved at the recent bond commission meeting, so they could adjust it around to municipalities, but the likelihood is that they will push that out as well. So that leaves us with what are the options? And there's really 4 options. One is do nothing. We continue to operate, and as we always do, we try to find opportunities to expend less money throughout the year than we had budgeted. We work to drive as much receipts as possible, improve our collection rate, although we budget a 99% tax collection rate, we're aggressively pursuing that. User fees, where they're justified and where they're published, collect all of them. So that is one option. I don't think that would close the complete gap, and so what that process would do is essentially say at the end of the year, whatever gap we have comes out of fund balance. That is our savings account. I recommend that we not do that. We did discuss this at the first Board of Finance meeting, and the Board of Finance didn't like the idea of using fund balance to balance the budget. This year's budget included $2.6 million. Part of that was to mitigate tax increase, which has been the case for a number of years, and up to this point we haven't used that money, so it's been rolling forward every single year. The other part was to deal with a severely underfunded pension plan. To the extent that we use fund balance, we run into the risk of having a large number of retirees and not having the cash to pay out. We have a unique pension plan which also offers an option of a lump sum payout, so cash flow is a critical element to that. The other piece to consider if we use fund balance, most of our capital projects are reimbursable. So essentially the town has to have the cash up front to pay the contractors and seek reimbursement from the state or another entity. And so if we use our fund balance, the ability to, for lack of a better phrase, front the money and get it back would be diminished and could impair our ability to do some of our larger capital projects into the future. So again, one option is do nothing and let the year play out as we would normally have done. Second option would be to implement a supplemental tax. In order to close a $600,000 gap with a supplemental tax, it would be an additional 0.28 mil increase. So for somebody who owns a $250,000 house, that would represent an additional tax of $48.17. In and of itself, not a huge dollar amount, but we did have a tax increase this year, and I know the council last year worked very hard to minimize that. And this would add to the tax burden, but it is an option. Again, the Board of Finance discussed this and did not like the idea of a supplemental tax. Third option would be to formally adopt a revised budget, to actually choose to change the budget, formally adopting that. I've exchanged some emails with Corporation Counsel to make sure that we follow the rules that are in place. So I will pause when I'm done. I think I've got an understanding, but I'll also pause to make sure if I say anything wrong. The way the state budget was written, there is a provision that allows towns, if they adopted a budget before the state budget was finalized, which we did, if the funding coming from the state is ultimately less than what was budgeted, the town has the opportunity to adjust the budget. However, they had a provision in there which said, for the Board of Ed, you can only reduce it if your equalization grant, your education cost-sharing grant was lower than what was assumed in the budget, and you can only reduce it by that amount. Similarly, on the non-education side of the budget, you're only able to reduce that if the money that you received from the state was ultimately less than you had budgeted. When you look at the spreadsheet, it's over $800,000. We are about $890,000 below our budget in ECS. In non-education funding, we're actually above what we had budgeted. So from that interpretation, if you were to adopt a formal change to the budget, by what was written in the state budget and what is now law, you would only be able to adjust the education portion, the Board of Ed operating costs of the budget. And to do so would require following the same process that was used to enact the original budget. So before I go to number 4, I'll stop if I've said anything wrong.
Nope, that's correct.
Okay.
So we'd have to go through in essence, the whole budget project
The statute
process
reads the same
again.
process as was used to adopt the budget that's being amended.
Now that wouldn't include meetings, et cetera.
Right.
We went through all those budget meetings,
Right.
but I believe,
Go to referendum.
correct me if I'm wrong, we'd have to go to referendum.
Referendum.
Right, yep.
Right.
But that is an option if you wish to go that way. The fourth option, which I think is where the Board of Finance landed when we initially discussed this, is for the council and ultimately I would say the Board of Finance as well to direct the town and/or Board of Education to finish the year spending less than what was originally budgeted. Wouldn't be a formal reduction, but it would be basically a direction to say you need to spend less. You need to essentially figure out a way to cut your costs. Again, as I said, we have been meeting since the middle of the summer, and I think at this point now, and having a feel for where the numbers are, what we really need from a town and Board of Ed perspective is, if that's the path, if you choose to go down path 4, what would you be looking for from both the town and the Board of Ed? So those are the 4 ugly scenarios of a bad situation. And then the last thing I will say is that there are members of both the Board of Finance, the Board of Ed, as well as our current and future superintendent here. So as we get into any specifics, I may very well defer to any of those experts.
Okay, great news. Thanks, Kevin.
We did
Sorry.
get the stabilization grant. I was able to actually share the good news for once in this.
I get it. Hey, listen, every municipality in Connecticut is in the same boat.
Yep.
Unfortunately, right?
Yep, that's right.
So, okay, well, so where are we on our agenda item here? Well, I mean, obviously tonight we will probably, I would suggest we take no action and let this sink in a little bit and
Next week, them anyways, right?
yeah, I mean, talk to our Board of Finance, talk to our Board of Ed, superintendents, and, right, get a feel for what
Yeah.
the best option is. Thank goodness it's not an immediate need right today, right? Thanks, we have plenty of money to move forward, right? You can open schools tomorrow, I'm sure, right? And we're good for now. So but I think, yeah, we have to have some serious discussions, I think, between the Board of Finance, town manager, superintendents, Board of Ed, and Board of Finance. So as we go forward in the next, hopefully right after the first of the year, maybe.
Okay.
And see what the best option is. I don't know which the best. I don't think any of us probably know what that is yet. I'm sure we will get through it. We already have. We have gotten through tough budget scenarios the last couple of years. So
Yep.
I'm sure we will with this. And apparently, from what you've said and what I read in the paper too, that yes, they're looking at perhaps some more reductions coming from what the governor has said, because we've got over that 10%. Of the budget. 1%, I'm sorry, 1% of the budget,
So he'll come
200
out with
million.
a plan, and then the legislature will have to take it up.
Okay. So we'll definitely be working on this with everyone going forward. Hopefully we can be creative and get through it with the least amount of financial pain for the town government, the Board of Ed, and our residents, as far as, additional taxes, which would be very distasteful, I think, to everyone. So, anybody else? Whatever you guys think. Well, I mean,
Yeah, we gotta sit down.
yeah. I mean, we'll sit down and
Yeah.
with yourself too, and we'll figure something out.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have an agenda item number 3, a little more positive and uplifting than the last one.
Christmas is coming, right? That's good.
Well,
Right?
actually, this one's close to being.
Yeah, good.
A while back, DEP had a project to dredge Silver Lake, and they had used some property next to Silver Lake, about 27.7 acres, to dry the materials. At this point, they have no longer use for that property, and they've talked with us, with the town of Berlin, about taking the property and giving us also some money to go forward and redevelop the property for passive recreation. What we're requesting tonight is that the council consider authorizing the acting town manager to enter into a contract with DEP to go forward and accept some money from the grant to do a study, an engineering study of the property. And one of the ideas is down the road is that we would make this into, as I said, passive recreation. One of the thoughts is to make additional soccer fields. And we could end up with several new soccer fields in that area. sometime in the future, if the study comes back positive, as we think it will, we've got quite a bit of information. But we'd like to proceed and get going on this. So Chris Edge is here to give you the details.
Chris, welcome.
Thank you. I don't think there's much details that our town manager did not put in. Just a quick clarification. This is essentially $8,500 we are getting from DEEP that we are then paying HRP. So essentially, as a grant, we're getting from them to pay HRP, so it's not coming out of our pocket. Essentially, we are doing as much due diligence as we can before taking on this property, but again, HRP, we've worked with on other projects, has been working with us on really helping us decide if this makes sense, one, to take it, but two, if long-term we can use it for playing fields, which, as everybody knows, is an area we're in great need of.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Is there any problem with the land itself with pollution?
There's a considerable amount of data been generated on that so far, and the information is that it's I won't say pristine, relatively clean. It'd be clean to meet exposure standards, and therefore we would part of this you would be capping the property also. There is some precedence to this. At one point, the Bantam Lake was also dredged, and there were similar situation in Morris, and they did cap that and make that into a soccer field. So this is not the first time they've done this.
Thanks.
Yep. And if I could add to that, Councilor Russo, we are working with DEEP as well as with additional monies that would be coming with the land. So if there's anything that we do find, essentially we would get monies from them to remediate that so that it would be at the standard of which we could put fields on it.
Thank you.
I also have a question. I'm under the impression that passive
Aaron, I
use-
need you on the mic.
Oh, sorry.
Very soft spoken. Thank you.
I'm under the impression that when you have passive use only, that would not be able to be used as soccer fields. So would it come in as open space to be developed later into soccer fields?
I believe the language that we've been talking about, I believe right now we have a memo of understanding with them, is that we will be able to use it for soccer fields. Essentially passive recreation with the use of soccer fields. I know that we've looked at this before, but again, the intent is to look at it for fields are similar, but no, we would not take it just as passive. Our goal is to really have it for a public use more than just trails.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, in our meetings, we worked with DEP, and we put that out there to them. That one of the main reasons we're looking at this is for soccer fields, and I don't think it's just limited to soccer fields. I know somewhere I've been approached that would be put a lacrosse field. But I think the idea is that there'd be some playing fields. So we had them tweak the definition of passive, so that would include that activity.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, anything else for Mr. Edge?
Yeah, just real quick, so basically, they used our land, they had the dredge material there, and if we use this grant, and there's any more problems with the land, we'll be able to get, hopefully, reimbursed for any of that.
Well, the intent right now is in our discussions with them is there are some monies that DEEP has at this point.
Yeah.
If anything is found, we essentially will get the land and the monies to remediate to whatever degree our environmental consultant, HRP, tells us it needs to be. So yes, that's part of the whole thing. We're going into this very slowly at this point. And again, using DEEP's grant money because we want to make sure that it works not just for the town, but also for the residents and athletes who will be using it long term.
Okay.
Great. Okay, I think we have a couple of motions we need to make here.
Okay,
On this
I will
issue.
move to authorize the acting town manager to enter into a grant agreement with the State of Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection for an $8,500 grant to study the feasibility to acquire 27.7 acre parcel of land in the Berlin, map 27-1, block 120, lot 2, and repurpose the site for playing fields or open space subject to review and approval of Corporation Council.
Okay, we have a second. Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Second motion.
And also move to authorize the acting town manager to enter into agreement with HRP Associates to evaluate the basins on a 27.7 acre parcel of land in Berlin, map 27-1, block 120, lot 2, and to develop a conceptual plan and cost estimate for basin stabilization so that the parcel can be made ready for open space and recreational use for a fee not to exceed $8,500, subject to to the prior execution of the Silver Lake grant agreement with the state DEEP.
Second on that?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay.
Okay, agenda item number 4, we're requesting that that you schedule a public hearing for your next, on December 19th, to consider an easement for drainage from the Big A LLC on 76 Fuller Way. The drainage easement will allow them to drain water into a pond on town-owned property. An 8-24 was reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and a favorable report was issued.
Okay. Take a motion on this?
Okay. Move to schedule a public hearing on December 19th, 2017 at 7 p.m. concerning the granting of a drainage easement related to the property at 76 Fuller Way, owned by Big A LLC.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Agenda item number 5 is a request for a tax abatement for 224 Berlin Turnpike. They have submitted an application for the construction of an 18,000 square foot auto dealership, and they're looking for a tax abatement. Chris is here with the details of the request.
Thank you, Mr. Healy. Yes, the group that had constructed the new auto dealership and retail building has applied for a 3-year tax abatement, 50, 40, 30, and that is on the increase to the assessment. It had gone through economic development. They had approved it. I had worked with Corporation Counsel. This was for an eligibility piece, and they had, with case law, had said that an auto dealership is considered retail and was eligible. By the way, our rules are written, retail is also eligible. So essentially asking for that. In my own opinion, economic development-wise, it's a small investment to hopefully get more development on site. I know at this point he spent somewhere in the ballpark of probably about $9 or $10 million, and I believe he will keep going, market dependent. And this is small abatement, and I'm excited to have it. Anybody that has seen it, I think we can be very proud of what is there at the moment.
Yeah, he did an amazing job on that. It's a nice, very beautiful building, and as is the building next door. Hoping he can fill it up soon. Okay, we'll take a motion on this.
Okay. Move to approve a tax abatement for 224 Berlin Turnpike LLC for the construction of an 18,000 square foot auto dealership and a 17,000 square foot retail building of 50% in year 1, 40% in year 2, and 30% in year 3 per the town's tax abatement policy.
Second on this?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Is there an opportunity for public comment on that?
Not really.
Not really now, but it's too bad you didn't do it in our,
Okay.
but, sure, go ahead. It's in our discussion phase, it's okay.
Nicholas Titulis, 196 Berlin Turnpike. I represent the family that owns a property in front of Mr. Orsini's car dealership. It's the Berlin Pizza as well as the cigar shop next door.
Okay.
So just a little feedback on our experience with Mr. Orsini as a neighbor and as it relates to his request here. Mr. Orsini, in the time that he's been building his location there since 2015, there was an opportunity for my family to also, we entered into a purchase and sales agreement with a assisted living facility to purchase our property as well as the property right behind ours. And Mr. Orsini spoke extensively in opposition of that development, and ultimately it was turned down as a result of some of his opposition as well as some other commentary that came through. But the concern that we have is that there was an opportunity for the town of Berlin to receive an additional $120,000 in tax revenue on that particular development, which was turned away and was not allowed to continue. In addition to that, I want to speak to some of the exceptions that Mr. Orsini has been granted on his development thus far at the Acura dealership. Prior to coming into town, there was a regulation that allowed for building to take place if you had 20 acres worth of land. That was reduced to 4 acres to accommodate Mr. Orsini, so an exception was granted for him there. There is wetlands immediately behind our parcel of land at 196 Berlin Turnpike, the piece of which the assisted living facility was going to purchase, our property as well as the property right behind that. Since our opportunity was turned away, Mr. Orsini has purchased that land in the back, and we know that it was wetland area because of our discussions with the developer that was looking to build the assisted living facility. Since that time, Mr. Orsini has come in and buried that wetland with fill, and there's been no commentary on that at all. He's been allowed to do that and without any problem whatsoever. So I'm not sure what allowed him to do that, but clearly he had some pull within the town. He's now looking for a waiver of taxes. Mr. Orsini, if there's anybody in this town that has the ability to pay their taxes, it's Mr. Orsini. He has approached us on a number of different occasions looking to purchase our property and looking to purchase it for 50% less than what our purchase and sales agreement called for in 2015. We told him that we're not interested in that. We mentioned that the town has lost $120,000 in tax revenue because of his opposition to our development. Let's see here. He continues to call us and tell us that he's going to build a restaurant in the retail division in the back with the express intent to close down the restaurant that we have in our property. So every opportunity that Mr. Orsini has to sort of intimidate us, at least as a neighbor, he's taking that. We also have an easement that's been granted to our property, right next to the property, that allows him access into the back lot that he's purchased, but also allows us the ability to access that area and provide parking to our customers. So he has reached out to us and let us know that he had an intent to build a 60-foot driveway going in and out of the property. And we let him know that that was not possible because the easement speaks to an ability for us to continue to have parking within that easement area. And he's also sent a letter to us from his attorney telling us that he has the intent to use it to go in and out of the development area in the back. So although he does have the development ability to go in and out of the location, that does not allow him the ability to restrict our ability to park on the property. At a minimum, Mr. Orsini would be characterized as a poor neighbor. At a higher level, I think that he is engaging in behavior that is counter to what would be advantageous to the town of Berlin. So with that said, I think it's important that the town council has an idea of what's taking place on the property, and he's purchased all the properties surrounding our property and kind of left us there as an island at this point. And continues to tell us that one way or another we're going to sell the property to him. And if we don't sell it at the price he's offering now, it's just going to continue to go lower. So through intimidation, he's looking for us to lower our price and sell to him so he can continue development on that parcel of land. So with that, I thought it was important to at least share with the town council our experience with him as you consider this request for Mr. Orsini. I do have some paperwork that speaks to the easement and some of those issues. I don't know if that's even something that we can enter into record, but I'd love to be able to share it with you so you can take a look at it. But I think it's important that the town and its residents and businesses understand what we're up against with Mr. Orsini and the opportunities that have been lost as a result of his opposition.
What would you say about information?
The only item that's on the agenda is
Tax abatement.
the tax abatement. So the question for the council is whether or not it's eligible for the abatement based on the town's tax abatement policy. Some of the issues that the resident is talking about have to do with planning and zoning and other regulatory boards and commissions that you don't have jurisdiction over.
Yeah, and that what one of the things I was gonna, having spent many years on planning and zoning, I don't know the history. You know, this is the first time I'm hearing obviously some of these things, and the council as a whole is hearing this. So I have no problem speaking with you, further going forward. But certainly, developments go through, as you know, go through planning and zoning, go through wetlands, and I can only make the assumption based upon how committed our town planner was, who departed, and our Planning and Zoning Commission and our Inland Wetlands Commission, that they would have done the right thing. That would certainly have
Yeah.
be my assumption.
I think they would
but-
have as well if they knew what was taking place there. So I'm not sure that they did.
Okay.
But again, I appreciate your time, Mr. Mayor. I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to speak here today and that we're on record for our opposition on that, and I appreciate your time.
Yeah, okay, and certainly, be willing to talk to you further.
Great, I'll reach out to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, based upon Corporation Council, we do have a motion on the floor, so that was...
Chris would like
Yes,
to-
yes.
Mayor,
yes.
just one thing. Most of it, I don't know.
Yes.
The 20-acre to 5-acre minimum was actually an economic development recommendation to planning and zoning. It actually had happened before the fact. That was the only part that I just not a big deal, but I mean, that was done beforehand because the 20 acres essentially, when it was put in place, the intent was to get another Home Depot plaza.
Okay.
The problem is the economy right now, they don't do it anymore.
Right.
So that's why that was done. And beyond that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Those
No, that's
would
fine.
be discussions with other departments that I did not know, but I know
Yeah.
too that we had actually worked with the developer that he was talking to, and it was a project that I think they decided didn't make sense for the turnpike, but again, I don't remember. I know I was at the meetings, but it's a challenge, no question. I know that we're trying to figure out what makes sense, and it is a funny market, so I'm sorry. I just want to make that one clarification on the 5 acres.
No, I appreciate that, and, certainly, Berlin wants to bring as many businesses to town as we can, and we do the very best we can to relocate businesses here and start new businesses here, and, sometimes it's very difficult. Obviously, I think the business climate, as we all know, is very difficult still in Connecticut, and probably not getting any better, but, we do the best we can, but appreciate that input, Chris. So, we have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion on it? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so moved. Thank you.
Agenda item number 6 is a request to authorize the acting town manager to select and appoint a staff person for reviewing the RFQs. We received the RFQs recently for properties on Farmington Avenue on 889, 903, and 913. Originally, the town council had put together a review committee consisting of the chairman and also Economic Development Commission, the acting town manager, director of development, and economic development director. Since that time, the director of development has resigned, so we need to replace that individual. So we're requesting authorization to do that.
Okay, thank you. Motion on this?
Sure. Move to authorize the acting town manager to select and appoint a staff person from the Department of Development Services Planning Department to serve on the 889, 903, and 913 Farmington Avenue RFQ Committee in the place of the Director of Development Services.
Second on that?
Second.
Okay, and any further discussion?
Just one minor thing.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, just wanted to mention the RFQ submissions are due today. We had received 5.
Yeah.
So the good news is the interest level was pretty high. We got a good amount. We didn't get tons, so we're excited about it. We're going to begin the process, hopefully do some interviews in January, but I'm very pleased. I think this is very important for the town, and we're going to have an opportunity now to see what some private developers can do to help us move this forward.
That's great to hear.
Good news.
Very good. Okay, any further discussion on that issue?
Good.
If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 7 is we're requesting that you authorize the acting town manager to sign a billing collections agreement with Connecticut Water Company. What's being proposed here is to outsource the billing of the water and sewer for the Berlin Water Control Commission. We've done that. We've been doing that work in-house in the tax department. Kevin Delaney's here to discuss it. We've gone out with an RFQ. We've looked at the cost, and then we think that would be better for the town and the Berlin Water Company if they could outsource the billing and use Connecticut Water Company because that's what they do.
Okay. Go ahead.
Let me go.
Sure.
This is a little more pleasant for me to
Oh,
talk about.
that's good.
So as Jack said, we went out to bid. For those of you who live within the Berlin water control area, you'll probably quickly recall there have been some billing challenges over the past few months. One of the challenges that we face with this is we utilize an antiquated system. It is a DOS-based system that is actually developed by a 3-person group company, of which only one is still alive. So any technology problems are supported by one person living in Colorado. So it is, to put it mildly, less than optimal. So after taking over this and evaluating, my assessment was we either need to upgrade our technology or we need to outsource this. The effort, the human effort, the dollars that would go with upgrading the technology versus the opportunity to outsource it. We're here tonight because I'm recommending that we outsource it. It is an opportunity to work with one of the leading companies that does this work within the state. Connecticut Water is a publicly traded company. They actually own a number of areas. Most recently, within the last year, they bought Avon Water Company, and they also have 21 municipalities where they have a division that actually does outsourced billing. So unlike today, where we would have our current tax collection department also billing, collecting, and serving as customer service, they actually have a 10-person dedicated customer service line. They will also provide the opportunity for individuals, if they choose to pay through their bank like other utilities pay. You could certainly pay with the credit card, but as with tax, that comes with a fee. So this is an opportunity, I think, to really get into the 21st century technology and processes without having to invest the dollars, the time, and the pain of developing it. It will cost Berlin Water Control customers slightly less. I don't think it's anything that's really going to affect the bill. Right now, the chargeback from the town is about $65,000, and it's about $48,000 a year to go with Connecticut Water. So a modest difference. It will have a slight impact to the cost of the tax office in the general fund because now those costs come back in. They're partially offset by the staffing changes we made at the end of the last budget cycle and realizing the annual benefit of an early retirement. So there is a modest increase. It's about $27,000. But we're able to move forward, I think, pretty well with the water control and also able to now focus the tax office exclusively on tax and leverage our certified tax collectors to do what they do well and try to boost our tax collection rate.
Okay, that sounds like we're moving forward into the 21st century. That's impressive for Berlin. That's tough to do with Berlin, but I'm glad we're moving down that road here. Okay. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
This Computel LLC, that's the old company?
There were 2 bidders, so they both do the work similarly. Computel is a smaller company, and they are actually a 10-person company versus Connecticut Water, who handles a number of municipalities within Connecticut and by itself as a 10-person customer service group, in addition to technology in other areas.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Delaney? If we could take a motion.
Move to authorize the acting town manager to sign an agreement with Connecticut Water to outsource Berlin Water Control billing and collections.
Second on that?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Well, agenda item number 8, that's another one for Kevin.
Yeah, still here, yeah.
We're looking at, up to this time, when we do a time and attendance, we all make out little slips like this. And then it's all paper, we go around all town, and we all sign all these little slips. And so Kevin has put out, and the purchasing agent has put out a request for proposals, and we are now looking to authorize the town manager to sign a contract to implement a time and attendance program using the computer-based system.
How groundbreaking.
And so Kevin's here to discuss it. It's a good system, and Kevin's here to discuss who bid on it and how it's going to work.
Great.
As Jack said, we put out an RFP, and we had a number of responses. You probably would recognize some of the names on here. They are first rate, used by, when I was in the private sector, 2 of them I worked with. They're excellent, but you'll also see that the price point is very different from all of them. So what we did is, when we opened up all the bids, we reviewed and we decided to interview the 3 low bidders. And after those interviews, we had both the town and the Board of Ed participate, and unanimously we all said that our best option is Tyler. Tyler is the provider of our current accounting and payroll software. They are a market leader. And so this is an opportunity for us to move forward with an automation effort that integrates with our existing payroll system. So rather than, for example, someone filling out a time card and potentially having 2 or 3 steps in the process through reviews and approvals before it even arrives at the payroll person, who then has to manually interpret the card and enter it into the system, this would be an automated process to, I think, improve integrity, certainly reduce errors, and I think also just create efficiency and free up opportunities. And the added benefit is Tyler was much less expensive than the others. So that is an opportunity. There is an upfront cost that goes with this, because we will need to purchase machines for folks to be able to key in their time when they come in. We are proposing to use business continuity resources. Previously, the town had bonded for the Business Continuity Initiative. I think this is a huge business continuity step forward. First, in the event of a catastrophe, it would allow us to have everything online. Tyler, we back up on a nightly basis, and it's backed up to their facility in Maine, which also is replicated at a facility in Dallas. So in the event we had a disaster and something happened in the town hall, our payroll records would not be paper-based, would be electronic, and would be accessible almost immediately. Additionally, it would minimize the amount of storage that we use. As we've been going through a number of our business continuity efforts, we found mountains of paper for many, many years. Some were required by law. Some are personnel related, HR related, and you're required to keep them for a number of years. Some we've kept, frankly, just in case there's a question. Well, the just in case there's a question would be available electronically in this approach, and would not be taking up a lot of our room. So we think it's a plus. It's a big step forward. It is an initiative that we propose to take in the second half of this fiscal year, with a objective go live of July 1st the next fiscal year. We have a number of unions, so we want to make sure that we're able to incorporate all of the provisions so that as somebody enters their time, the rules are in there. We're not having to manually manipulate things on the back end. Initially, the Board of Ed will not be part of this because they have a substitute calling system, and so we have to make sure that there is an integration with that and that it will work. So rather than risking that as a major issue for the school system, we're going to move forward with the town. We're going to incorporate this, and then the Board of Ed will evaluate in the future.
And the Board of Ed is still paper, too? They don't, are they not
The Board of
automated?
Ed is, there's an element of it, but much less. By nature, there's a large number who are salaried. So the Board of Ed's challenge isn't really the time cards, it's the substitutes. Because if a teacher calls out, they need that very quick response. If somebody gets sick and calls in at 6 a.m., they've got about an hour, hour and a half to make sure they have somebody there who can stand in front of the classroom. On the town side, you have a number of folks, the blue collar, white collar, you have a number of different people, somebody who might work at the golf course, somebody who's in the police department, a visiting nurse, just a myriad of different positions that are using these out time slips and time cards.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Delaney?
Actually, I do have a
Sure.
question, please. When I was looking at this, the total annual cost, I mean, Tyler's is substantially less. I just want to be sure that you feel that they'll be able to work and provide what you need, knowing that it's a huge difference.
It is. We do believe they will. That was actually our big concern. And when we had the interview with them, we actually had them walk through their entire process and show the steps. And interestingly, all of them are very similar. The look and feel, the ability to interface, and we do feel like that's the right move. In addition to that, which we didn't expect, but they're prepared to lock in that rate for 7 years without an increase, and a 5% increase in year 8. So we have an extensive relationship with Tyler. So the Board of Ed and the town both use it for accounting and payroll. Tyler had also bought a company that actually handles some of the software for the police department. It's certainly not the same software, but so it is a large technology company. They actually bought a company that does this work. They used to recommend a company called ExecuTime. Tyler has bought that company, and that's how they're now able to integrate these products in with what they're doing. And that's been Tyler's MO. For those who are familiar with government accounting packages, they also own Munis. So you have Munis, and we use Infinite Visions, which is a very popular Board of Ed software package, principally. They own a number of different companies and are, like many technology companies, are buying and adding on. So we feel like they are where we should go.
And I also have one other question. Is there a mobile app so that you mentioned the visiting nurses, they're out in the field, they don't have to come into the office and punch in?
Absolutely. There will be these machines in various locations, but you also have the opportunity to do it on a computer, a tablet, your phone. There is also the option to bring in scheduling. So for example, the police don't fill out a time card every day. They're scheduled to work. So we will be working with them to interface InTime, which is their scheduling software package in the police station. We're not looking to change anything there, and integrate that so we can bring that data right in electronically.
Thank you.
You said too that there was an initial cost for the machines?
Yes.
And what is that?
The devices themselves are I'm estimating about $19,000. That would be 10 devices. I'm looking at the blue collar locations down at the garage and water control, animal control, the golf course, as well as the senior center potentially. Part of it is also evaluating which offices have laptops and other alternatives where they wouldn't need a machine. So a couple of them, I'm not sure that we necessarily need it, but I decided to go a little conservative with the proposal, and then we'll evaluate user needs when we get to that point.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, appreciate Mr. Delaney bringing us up, technologically sound here, moving us forward. Appreciate that, Mr. Healy. I'm sure all of you guys have worked on this, and it's great to move the town forward. So with that, we have a motion.
Sure. Move to authorize the acting town manager to sign a time and attendance agreement with Tyler Technologies.
Second on that?
Second.
And any further discussion?
No, just real quick.
Yep.
Kevin, earlier you talked about looking for new ways to save money for the town, and with the last item in this one, thinking forward, there is some upfront costs, but in my company, when I watched the union and the non-union accounts people put in their timesheets, there are computer programs, but they're spending an awful lot of time. Could be a couple days worth of work, and I think in the future, we're going to save some money here.
That's part of the goal.
Good.
Okay, great. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Kevin gets to stay. Agenda item number 9.
Decided to make the night count.
Yeah, we're requesting that you move to adopt an investment policy. We had, as you know, the town has a 401 and a 457 defined contribution plan retirement system, and it does have an investment policy. It has to be reviewed periodically, and Kevin's come back with some recommendations.
Okay.
So we are the plan sponsor for the 401 plan for the town. This relates to town employees principally, although there are some Board of Ed members who are eligible to participate. Most of the Board of Ed would be comprised of teachers and administrators who are on the teachers fund. So this is the plan that would cover that group. We've hired a fiduciary, financial investment advisors, FIA, to help manage our business. And this policy statement is really the guiding principles for them to use as they think about investment selection and investment monitoring for that plan. There have been new rules that have come out applicable to plan sponsors and their fiduciary responsibilities to their members. And this is updating our current investment policy to make sure that we're more in line with those. It's a lot of wording changes, but there really are 3 changes that I'd say we probably really have to be aware of. And what they do is tone down, if you will, some of the wording that was in there before. For example, in one of the paragraphs under investment objectives, it was worded as options that represent a broad range, and the word broad is taken out. It exposes us. If somebody were to come in and say, I interpret broad differently than you interpreted it, there's the potential risk to the community for using that word. Similarly, in the same area, the returns are competitive in the marketplace. It's changed with returns that are reasonable. Again, competitive is a gray word, and we're trying to minimize the exposure for the community as a plan sponsor. And again, the last one is selection of investments. Each plan intends to provide an appropriate range, and we took the word appropriate out because, again, it's subject to interpretation. This doesn't in any way change the monitoring we do, the investments we do, and FIA has done a great job on behalf of the town, but this helps us avoid or at least mitigate the risk of potential issues down the line.
Okay. And Corporation Counsel, have you looked at this?
I don't think I looked at this one.
I would like to just have your, input as well, since we're, changing these words, and although it makes sense to me, but.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what the edits are.
Yep.
There's a lot of subjectivity involved in the word broad. There's also subjectivity involved in the word reasonable. So, I don't know whose opinion it was that reasonable is preferable to broad, but I wouldn't necessarily disagree with it.
I think it was reasonable as compared to competitive.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that's right, reasonable versus competitive.
Right.
The first edit is fine. The second edit, I think you could go either way on it, but I suppose that makes it fine as well. The third edit, I don't have an issue with.
Okay, appreciate the input.
Good.
Okay, any other questions, Mr. Delaney, before we'll entertain a motion?
Good.
Motion, yeah.
Okay. Move to adopt the Town of Berlin Investment Policy Statement revised July 2017.
Second on that?
Second.
Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you finally done? No, you can't be done. All right. Thank you.
Agenda item number 10, we're requesting that you appropriate some $38,500 of funds from the contingency account and move it to the dump truck account, and also that you waive the town bidding procedures. Situation has arisen that we, as we enter into the winter season, one of the six-wheel trucks that we use for plowing the roads has developed cracks in the frame, and so therefore it needs to be replaced. Jim Simons from the garage is here to discuss what the alternatives, what alternative we've selected, and why we went forward. So, Jim?
Come on up, Jim. How are you tonight?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Had a great night.
Good. That's good. We'll try to keep it going that way if we can, all right? We'll try. So we have.
So basically, we had a dump truck, 17 years old, one that was looked at for replacement, and we funded a portion of replacing a dump truck, although it wasn't that dump truck. Came into the shop for a complaint of some brake issues. It was also time for a DOT inspection. They began to do the inspection on it, and the primary thing that was found was that the right side frame rail had 2 large cracks in it. Now, the right side frame rail, or the frame rail, becomes cracked because it is a double seat channel frame rail. And what happens is the salts get in between the frame rail and start breaking down the metals. When that happens, it starts building the rust up, and that causes the frame rail to expand, the inside of the frame rail to expand, and the outside can't expand, and it splits it down the center. So with that, we did a complete evaluation of everything we would need to put into that truck, to put that truck get through the winter or through a period of time. That, when we did a dollar analysis on that, that did not seem reasonable to put that type of money into a 17-year-old truck that we were going to replace. So it became time to go out and look for something else. Being that it was already in fall, and usually when you purchase one of these trucks, it takes a year for the time that you award the money, spec, purchase, order, build out, and then delivery. We wouldn't have a truck for snow plowing this year. So at that point, we decided to go out and look and see what's out there in stock or demo units, because these bodybuilders that put on the dump trucks, bodies and plows and hitches and all that stuff, build a series of demo units that are out there. Our intern town manager and Mr. Griswold, the highway superintendent, came back and said, you know, we've been purchasing these 42,000 pound dump trucks. Maybe we want to go with something a little bit in between the 19.5 and the 42,000 pounds. So we went out and we looked at some mid-sized dump trucks. We looked at some big ones too. And a big one is somewhere around $200,000 right now, just over $200,000. And it was decided that after we brought in a mid-sized dump truck that we would like to try that size dump truck. And it was driven by not only the highway superintendent, but also by some drivers out there, and they felt that they could see better out of that truck, and that it still had the same amount of horsepower and torque ranges in there, so that we'd be able to push back the snow. So we sat down, we did some negotiating with the person who had the truck, and we are here tonight. That's the long and short.
Okay.
Okay.
So if we wanted to have a truck for plowing this year, this is the best plan to move forward.
And the truck, so it's available, obviously.
The truck is
As soon
available.
as we write a check, they'll give it to us. What a deal.
What a deal.
What a deal.
That's how it works.
You don't feel having the smaller truck as opposed to the larger truck is going to cause any issues, or do you have larger trucks in your fleet for when you need that power?
We have a series of larger trucks. The route, they're going to make some changes to the routes, and they're going to put the smaller in-between truck, medium-sized truck, into a more congested area where it probably will work out fine and do a little less damage.
Okay.
I've done this before in another town, and it's right sizing a truck for the route that you're going to use. You know, and previously I would buy 10-wheel, 6-wheel, and then we started buying this intermediate truck that Jim described, and you use it for like cul-de-sacs and smaller areas, and it's a good vehicle.
Yeah, no, my family's in construction, so I understand the benefits of the different sizes of the vehicles, so I just wanted to make sure you had what you needed both ways.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Simons? If not, we can entertain a motion.
Okay, move to appropriate the funds from the contingency account to the dump truck account in the amount of $38,500 in order to purchase a 2017 T270 Kenworth cab chassis for the highway department.
Second on that?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Second motion?
Sure. Move to waive the town's bidding procedures due to the need for a quick replacement of the current truck and approve the purchase of one 2017 T270 Kenworth cab chassis, which is a mid-size 6-wheel dump truck for the highway department from New England Truck Equipment of Wallingford, Connecticut, for an amount not to exceed $140,704, which is in the best interest of the town.
Right. Second on that?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so this one went to the Board of Finance, right?
Yes.
Yes.
That
So,
was the first one
huh?
on the Board of Finance.
So we're good. We're good to go with the truck now.
Okay.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Agenda item number 11 we're looking for your approval to continue the process of abandoning the right-of-way, part of the right-of-way along Grove Hill. There's a part of the right-of-way in Grove Hill is wider than typical. The St. Paul's Church has discussed with us potentially, abandon. You go through a process of it's called discontinuation of a road, where you abandon part of the right-of-way, and then it goes to the abutting property owners. There was an 8-24 which was forwarded to Planning and Zoning, which we received a favorable review. The next steps would be that they had to be surveyed and a plat developed by the St. Paul's Church. We're looking for you to approve the continuation of this process.
Okay. And that's just gonna, that was the easement was like double, right, the size?
Yeah.
The right-of-way?
Yeah, it's almost double the typical right-of-way.
And that was because there were some old plans for a boulevard there or something?
Yeah, at one time there was consideration of putting a boulevard there back when the town was being laid out. There's no intention right now to increase the size of the road there, so the excess property, it could be abandoned and with no action to the town.
Yeah. I remember this came up, I think, when we were looking to approve some development there at KGS too, that we were going to have to do that same thing, but we never happened. But so only fair to pass it on. Okay, take a motion on this.
Okay, move to approve the discontinuation of a portion of the right-of-way adjacent to the Grove Hill side of the property to incorporate the additional property into Phase 2 of St. Paul's Church development plans.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Questions?
Sure.
Yeah.
Jack, I just want to make sure that the other property owners there, you said you're going to send them a letter, and we're going to have a town meeting, so that they can apply for this too.
Yeah,
It's not just-
there's a process.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm requesting, that you authorize to go ahead with the process.
Okay, good.
We'd have to post the property, there's signage that we have to put out. It's a rather formal process that we have to go through, but before we entered into that, I want to make sure that the town council
Because
agreed
there's,
that we
what,
continue.
2, 3, or 4 houses
Yeah.
still there, right?
Yep.
Okay.
It's just on the it's on the right side
Right
as you're
side.
going up
Right.
towards the church, right?
Right. Yep.
So yeah, the other property owners would also benefit.
Yeah. On the other side, we just put a sidewalk, we don't want to.
Yeah. Okay. We don't want to do that now.
No.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions, concerns? Then motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Agenda item number 12. Annually, we go out for snow plowing of certain parts that we outsource certain activities in the town. This particular request for bid was for the snow plowing of the town cul-de-sacs. We received a couple of bids. What we're requesting is that you approve Rogan Enterprises at the rate of $145 per hour per vehicle to do the cul-de-sacs. The project expenses not to exceed about $7,500 per year. Now again, that would be dependent on the amount of snow that we get. But there's certain routes in town that the town does outsource on an annual basis, and the cul-de-sacs are one of these areas.
And that's just because what? We just don't have the time or the manpower to.
We don't have the manpower. We don't have the number of trucks to handle that. So this is one way to minimize to contain cost. So they go out when you call them to go out and do the work.
Yeah, okay.
Is this $7,500 number like a generally what we
we budget.
spend on?
We budget for this particular part of the.
Okay.
Our snow removal budget's much larger, but this is just one portion of it.
I realize that.
And you had just mentioned that the truck that you had or will be purchasing would be perfect for cul-de-sacs. So this is really a manpower issue versus the type of truck, because you'll be getting a truck that can do cul-de-sacs.
It's a manpower and time issue that we have, yeah. And on an annual basis, they don't go out every storm. There's a certain storm that we contract out and we have them do.
Quick question. The price discrepancy between this motion and the next one topic, were any of them willing to negotiate for the equivalent rate of the 174, or
It's a different.
is it a different area?
It's a different area. The other ones are different roads. This would be a cul-de-sac. They'd be using smaller trucks.
Okay.
It's a different bid.
Thank you, Amy. I had that exact same question, so thanks for bringing it up.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay, move to authorize the award of the snow plowing of cul-de-sacs and miscellaneous areas to Rogan Enterprises LLC of Berlin at the rate of $145 per hour per vehicle with a projected expense of $7,500.
Second on that?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
And item number 13 is the snow plowing of some town streets. Again, we went out to bid. This is an annual bid that we do. Earth Contractors proposed a rate of $200 per hour, where we had another bid for $194.50. Earth Contractors is a local bidder. The town has a policy, a bidding procedure which allows a local contractor within a certain percentage that they can match the bid. So Earth Contractors is taking advantage of that and has lowered their bid to $194.50. Again, it's not expected to go above $7,500 per year. They don't do salting or anything. They do just the plowing for us. And again, it's on an as-called basis based on the highway superintendent's judgment.
Okay.
Okay. Motion on this?
Okay, move to authorize the award of snow plowing of town streets to Earth Contractors of Kensington at a rate of $194.50 per hour per vehicle with a projected expense of $7,500.
Second on that?
Second.
Any further discussion or questions?
Just a quick question,
Yes.
Jack. Did you ever entertain, well, are you going to contract with them, or they won the bid? Did you ever entertain giving the second guy a contract too, in case the first guy can't make it?
We do that sometimes.
Okay.
Last year, one of the problems we had last year is that the first contractor didn't respond, so we had to go to a second contractor. So we sometimes do that.
Okay, any further questions? Hearing none. Motion on this?
Did that.
Did we make the motion? I'm sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Thank you.
I would like to make a motion to add agenda item number 14, because I forgot, Kate, for the agenda.
Okay, you can do it at any time.
Okay.
Second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. 14.
Number 14, John Zook is here to discuss requesting a bid waiver. There's been, they have a capital program up at the golf course this year, and they've been doing a considerable amount of work. In the area of the 10th tee, they removed some old telephone poles. They used to be used as a retaining wall. It was unsafe. John had talked about bringing in Earth Contractors. Earth Contractors has a contract with the town to do emergency service and construction services, and so John is here to request a bid waiver for installing for the walls that have been installed up at the golf course.
Okay. How you doing, John?
Good evening. Actually, Earth Contractors has already started the work and was scheduled to be completed the work on December 1st. That's going to be a little bit delayed. Basically, we selected Earth Contractors because of their the timely manner of the work that they do, and also the quality of the work that they do. We were under the impression that because Earth Contractors was a general contractor for the town for all construction projects, that we could use this contractor for the contract. The price went over the $10,000 limit, so we decided to bring it to council for approval.
Okay. So hence the no bidding, because we're
John had mentioned it to me, and when he asked me about the Earth contract. I said we have a contract with him for doing the work. The part in there is that once it goes over $10,000, we're supposed to go out to bid. That point was missed in the process. John's friend. They're working up there they removed the tennis courts. They've been doing a lot of work on the greens and in the fairways. This was a project they wanted to get done, and so because we missed the point about being the $10,000 was missed, we're requesting that you grant the bid waiver.
Okay. Motion.
Okay, waive the town's bidding procedure for Earth Contractors to construct 2 retaining stone walls at the clubhouse at Timberland Golf Course in the amount not to exceed $15,500 because this is in the best interest of the town.
Okay. Second on this?
Second.
Discussion. Any questions?
Question, where is the funding coming from?
It's coming from the CIP,
Okay,
the capital plan.
think
When
I
the
must have
golfers
missed
pay $1 and $2,
Okay.
just to explain it for everyone.
Mhm.
The golfers pay $1 and $2 every time they play a round of golf, and that money goes into a capital fee to do projects at the golf course.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
Just, it's unusual to approve something once it's started, but we'll give you a mulligan on this.
There you go.
Good word choice.
Yeah, that's a typical process. We're all aware of that and understand that
there was a discussion between John and I.
Right.
And so, I mean, part of this was that I told John to go ahead because it was under the understanding, I thought it was under $10,000. And so when John sent the request down to approve it, I said, well, wait a minute, it's over $10,000. And of course, then all of a sudden, remember the conversation I had with John where I told him, to use Earth Contractors. So, because they do have a contract with us to do work, construction work and other things for other venues, but once it hits $10,000, we have the bidding requirement. So.
Right. And we try to stick to that bidding requirement,
do,
but
so.
I know once in a while we
Did
have
we
waived
know
it.
this was going to go over, or was it unexpected costs?
No, it was a miscommunication. We talked about doing the project. My understanding was, my interpretation when John asked me was that it was going to be under $10,000. We never discussed the price. It was we meet every 2 weeks on a Friday to go over projects up at the golf course. So when John sent me the request, then I saw it was over 10,000 and realized that we could need to come to council.
Okay.
But typically we know, and so this was just this is really just a miscommunication, and that's why we're asking for the bid waiver.
Understandable. Yeah, just for the new folks on the council, we do try and strictly interpret the bidding procedure that we have, and typically we do stick to it. So obviously there are some exceptions once in a while, understandably. Okay, any other discussion, questions? Then we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. All right, town manager's report.
Okay. Just as Kate asked me to remind everyone that there's a joint meeting on December 13th with the Board of Finance and Attorney D'Onofrio to go over FOI and other legal parts of their job. It's a joint meeting. Also on January 9th, there's a joint meeting to discuss the audit. So Kate asked me to give you those reminder.
Do you know what time those are?
December 13th is going to be at 7.
And that's going to be, where are we doing that at?
It's going to be over at the library.
The community
in
room?
Berlin Pack. Okay, so because it's a joint meeting, so it's going to be all 13 of you. All right, and then the same thing for January 9th. That's the audit, but that meeting's going to start at 6. The Board of Finance has their meeting at 7, but that will also be at the library, so it can accommodate both of the boards.
So it's in the library, not the community center?
At the library.
Okay.
Yeah. They have a, I don't know how often you go to the library, but they have it's a beautiful sized room.
Right when you walk in?
Yes.
On the, yeah.
There's
6
two.
for the 9th,
There's
7
the
for
first
the
one,
next
which is
week.
a very small
Oh,
room,
the second.
and then the second one right there is Wild Street. And you'll see us.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll look
Okay.
for
Can't
it.
miss it.
No, I know where it is.
I'm teasing.
All right, that's good.
On your desk, you should find some materials which were prepared for orientation for new town council members. Many of the participants had extra materials, so I put it on your desk for your reading as you want. Tollgate Road, I think you all know that in October we closed part of the road because of a PCB oil release from a pipe from Eversource. That's since been remediated. We are working with with Eversource's consultants and contractors right now, it's narrowed at that point. We've gone to the Army Corps of Engineers. We want to extend the pipe and put the road back into full service before winter. Currently, right now, we are with the Army Corps of Engineers trying to get their approval. I saw a letter today which appears that DEP is agreeing with the town that we should move this forward. So I'm just waiting for approval from the Army Corps, and then Eversource can get moving on that. On a positive side, the Farmington Avenue Bridge is open. For a long time it wasn't, and now it is open. It's fully operational.
Quite an engineering feat.
Yeah, it is. We are going through all the finances with the DOT, and we're working out the final, looking at the payments and things like that. But for all intents and purposes, the bridge is done and it is open. From the town perspective, right now we're spending a considerable amount of time. We have several positions that are open, and we've been advertising, and now we're conducting a lot of interviews to try to fill some of these positions, including very important ones. The VNA administrator, we have conducted interviews on that, and we are working, looking at those resumes. We've interviewed a person, a couple people, and the VNA is considering if they, how they want to go forward. The VNA supervisor position is open, part of and we have received resumes, and we're discussing how they want to proceed with that also. The town manager's office, Sheila Wagner, has decided to retire. She will be greatly missed. She's into her last 6 weeks. So we are conducting interviews tomorrow for that position to fill that. We'd like to fill that as soon as possible to give some overlap between Sheila and the next person. Also this week we are interviewing people for the planner's position. I believe that we have, I think we're interviewing 4 people for that position this week. I believe the mayor's sitting in on those interviews. So we'll be doing that this week. We're looking forward to being able to fill that position. Currently, the assistant planner is doing the work. We have a consultant that is putting in 4 to 6 hours a week working with her. We've also have an office administrator, assistant to help with just some of the paperwork. So they're doing a good job down there. They're trying to keep things moving. So those positions and we have a couple more positions that we are looking to. Kate's going to lose her right-hand person, Marcia, very shortly.
Right. When's she leaving?
January 12th.
Oh boy. Huh. How many has she been at once?
I think she's been here about 28 years.
28 years. That's a pretty good run there. Yeah.
24, 28, something, 24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so...
It's all knowledge, so they know where the bodies are buried.
Wow.
Well, the new people could, I guess, find some of those graves perhaps and move on to different ones. Yeah.
And we are also spending a lot of time working on business continuity. Kate has been heading up that project for the town. I know you've heard several references to it. I was able to attend a seminar on cybersecurity. I will be throwing away my computer, my phone, and going back to fax and paper. That was a very enlightening seminar that we went to. It was really for water control commissions, actually, because several of the water companies in the state of Connecticut have had cyber attacks this year. And so we went, and both Ray and I have gone, and we decided that we just want to completely go back to on-off buttons. But as part of that, I've talked to the person who's consulting for us on our business continuity. I've talked to Kate about it, and I can see where business continuity is going to sort of morph and continue on in the future, probably looking at the town's computer systems, where we want to go, how we want to protect them, how we want to handle information. Some of our policies, we're just talking about some of our policies, like something simple as somebody in the town hall, if you take information on a stick and you move from one computer to another, I don't think about that. We all have sticks in our pocket. You take it out, you move from your home computer to here. You don't know if you transfer. And some of the major breaches have been due to just things as simple as that, or somebody going and checking their home email on their work computer. So we're looking at maybe putting in some procedures, policies in place going forward. So I think after the first year, we're going to look at doing that.
Do we have like a central IT department, or is it spread out through our different organizations?
No, the police spread out. The police have theirs, the school has theirs, the town has theirs. That's one of the things we're talking about, looking at is does the town really need one centralized,
We could
IT
look into
director.
consolidating that and
Yeah.
working on the security all at the same time, you know?
Absolutely. That's why, I mean, when we get past the first year, we probably use this person that is doing the business continuity. That's another part of what he does, and look at doing it. We've had some discussions about doing exactly what you've said, because the exposure to the town, yesterday, was it yesterday we got that? We got one of the fishing, the fishing ones. It came in through our computer system. It took one of our people, made them the acting town manager. It wasn't my name, it was another person's name, sent an email to Kevin Delaney asking him to transfer funds. Fortunately, Kevin looked at it and he realized, that it's
Wow.
and it's not the first one. We've had several, so we know that, that they are trying to get into the town computer system. It's not something that we are immune to. So this is something we're going to look into as part of our business continuity program.
Good.
And that's where the business assessment plan, which Brendan, that was done by the audit committee. Our auditors asked us for the assessment plan, and we've hired Bloom Shapiro, and they've been truly outstanding to work with, I think. And I will say, RIT here, Barbara Sagan is the director, and she has definitely followed up. It's been, I started here in 2002, and I think Barbara and I have been trying to get something going since 2003. So we have made the leaps. We are ahead of a lot of other towns, but we're not where we should be yet. But we're looking at, instead of, like with the emails and everything, I won't bore you, but like we're looking to go to 365. We are looking at different options, trying to evaluate them. This business continuity bond issue has been huge helping us. We're looking at, with Tyler, to go to the cloud. One of my big software programs is Laserfish, which is with all the minutes and everything. We're looking to go to the cloud with that, and I just found out I can do this with my land records. If we can go to the cloud on a lot of these things, we don't have to, all we need is a laptop to go and operate someplace else. So any suggestions, it sounds like you might have some ideas, I'd love to sit down and talk to you about them, because the more we think about it, the better off we all are.
Absolutely.
But Jack has definitely been very supportive of this, and it's been huge. So,
good.
Scary stuff.
Everybody's vulnerable today, right?
Yep.
Even NSA gets hacked, right? If they get hacked, I guess we're all going to be hacked, right?
I guess so.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it. I think
That's
it's
it?
enough.
All right, thank you. Special committee reports, I don't think there are any,
No,
or do
there
we?
was one here.
Did you meet?
I talked to all the members of the calendar committee, so
Oh, that's where we get the calendar, yeah.
that was me, myself, and I.
We need the calendar. Oh, yeah. You guys had a big meeting?
Brendan had a meeting with himself.
Yeah, that's cool. Did you agree with yourself or not?
No. So everybody should have a copy in
Yep.
front of you.
Yes.
There were some things that Kate brought up, so we should discuss them. I guess I could put on here the special audit meeting, right, so we all know, on the 9th of January, 6 o'clock, right? April 3rd is the annual budget hearing, right, Kate?
well, I talked to the finance director, and he said that they could move it back, which would be the end of March. I think it's, I apologize, I didn't bring my calendar up.
That's okay.
I think it might be March 27th, but I might be wrong.
Okay. What day is that? March?
But that's something they can talk about at their meeting
Next week?
Yeah.
Board of
So
Finance would be
So we could
meeting.
leave it for now.
Yeah,
Wanna
I'll
leave
ask
it?
them to move it back.
27th is a Tuesday.
Or move it back? What are you going to move it back?
We'll move the annual budget hearing, move back to the end of March. I can ask them for that and let you all know.
Okay.
And then we're going to have the
Tuesday.
joint meeting with them, the Board of Finance, I guess, is that?
What Councilor Luddy did was the possibility of having those joint meetings. That's why they're in red. It's just to highlight the fact that if you do need to have a joint meeting, those would be the proposed dates.
Okay. I think we should, but
Yeah, do we have anything on here to have that conversation with them about our 4 different budget options? I think we should have.
That is relatively new.
that's
Right, I
that's
think
all. Yeah,
that's-
that's different now. We have to. Well, you know, while hopefully if we're together next week.
Is that something that you want to add to the agenda, Mayor?
For next week. The
Sure.
13th.
How
That
long?
would be on the 13th.
Yeah, how long do you think your training will be? Do you have any clue?
I would think FOI, you know, it's usually about 15 minutes on meetings, 15 minutes on documents, so about a half hour on FOIA. And Board of Finance figure 15, 20 minutes, so no more than an hour.
An hour for just what we got to,
Yeah.
so, yeah, why don't we add that? Since it's at 7, it's an hour, at least even if we get 15, 20 minutes in between both groups on where to go, where to move forward with the budget shortfall while we're all together would be helpful.
Yes, sir.
I think, right? Everybody agree with that? Talk to them?
Yep.
It's a good opportunity to talk to them?
Yep.
And I mean, that'll, I'm sure, be the first of many discussions. I don't think that'll be the last one, but at least we start somewhere. Okay, so that's that one. That's the 13th, 9th.
Yeah, in May,
May.
just put a couple tentative dates in there in case we need them. July, tried to stay away from the 4th of July week in case people go away.
Right.
If that's okay with everybody. Let's see, we have no meetings in August. And then December, what was December 4th?
That's November, see what you have is you move November's meetings back.
Yep.
And so you have.
Oh, that's right, you didn't want to have two in a row.
I didn't care, I just said,
Yeah.
boy, you're gonna have a
So,
meeting on one week and a meeting next week.
That's what it was. I mean,
Yeah.
we can cancel one or leave it there.
So
I
you're
don't-
only going to have a meeting on the 13th? Is that what you're?
No, on December, maybe just
Or
the
December
18th.
4th,
Maybe just
not
the-
have it?
Yeah.
Just on the
Yeah, maybe
18th?
just the
Yeah.
18th.
December's kind of slow, right? I mean, if we're gonna have a meeting on the 27th, why have one on the 4th?
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe do the 18th.
Just the 18th, just leave it there. Give us a break.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think that was it. So make a couple changes and we can vote on it next week.
Yeah,
And I
you'll
can-
vote
we
on
can
that
send it
on
out
the
by email?
19th on your
Okay.
regular scheduled
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay.
And if everybody has any
And if
ideas
anybody
or
has
concerns,
questions.
Yep.
Yeah, or concerns.
Okay.
we're flexible.
Okay. That's the only committee, right?
Yep.
Was the me,
The only
myself,
thing
and
I
I committee.
want
Brenda?
to bring up, Jack, is, you know, I know that I've had some discussions with other people about getting a Fields Committee meeting together.
Okay.
I don't know when to do that.
So you can set some dates, email some dates back and forth?
Sure.
You wanna try to do it in December?
You know, I probably should do it before, so the finance board may be involved. I don't know.
Okay. I'll email some dates.
With Peter, and I think Amy's on it, right?
Yep, I'm on Fields.
You need to
check-
do an agenda. You
Yep.
need to make sure minutes are done.
Okay.
And that's your guy.
Okay, so we'll,
And we'll get Lenny there before he leaves.
here we go.
When are you leaving, Lenny?
No.
When are you?
We got them to the end of the year.
The end of the year? All right.
We have till the end of the year to have a meeting with you about the fields and stuff.
I'm here until the end of January.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. More time.
Okay, you want to do before Christmas?
Sure.
Okay.
Can I just, if, I gave you your subcommittee listing in your packet. If there was any changes, some of you are very soft-spoken, and I want to make sure I put you on the right committees.
Okay.
I'm good.
Thank you.
Okay, so committees are good. Counselor Communications, go ahead, Peter.
Just, I want to thank Lenny for his 30-odd years of service to the town as a member of the Park and Rec and later as the chairman. The field situation for all fields is starkly better than it was when Lenny took over. I remember we had kids playing soccer on a football field, I believe, the first year. So Lenny, thanks. I know it's often a thankless job, but you made a difference for a positive way. Thank you, and good luck.
Yes,
whatever
thank
you
you.
decide to do.
You've made a lot of young soccer players and now lacrosse. Very happy.
Actually, my kids were some of the kids that played on that football field, so I do thank you as well, and thank you for everything you've done for our town.
Thank you again, Mike. Okay, anybody else?
Yeah,
Yes.
I just wanted to mention that
Yes.
I've been corresponding and talking with Tina Doyle, who let me know during the campaign that the seniors would like to have their voices heard pretty much throughout the year, not just at campaign time. So we're talking about setting up office hours for the council over there. So I'll keep everybody apprised of that.
Office hours, what do you mean?
Well,
So-
just she's got a room there, and then,
Huh?
just kind of going in and listening to seniors and anything that they might want to impart or
Sure.
share or suggest.
We do listen
or-
to them all. We've listened to them for the last 2 years, but I agree, we can give them some more time, absolutely.
This is, coming from Tina, who runs
Absolutely.
the show over there, so.
What are they envisioning the office hours would look like?
I
Like
don't know.
individual
We're-
candidates?
We're
or-
in the process of trying to figure that out now.
Just make sure you don't have a quorum.
Right, you can't have more than,
Take turns.
I think we need to talk about that.
yeah, the
You
mayor
might have
has
to
office,
post
I mean,
it.
I have
Well,
office
You're
hours,
gonna post
but,
it anyway, but you might have that, like, post it,
Yeah, okay,
okay?
yep.
yeah.
Keep everybody informed.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about that.
Yep.
What that really means. I'm not really sure what that means, but we'll figure it out with Tina. I just have one concern, Jack, and I know we've talked about it, and I know you guys are working on it, but that, the issue over on, there's an issue on, the Commerce Drive issue. Have we?
There was an email before I came.
Idling trucks,
We got
ladies
an
and
email
gentlemen.
today.
Yeah.
Attorney Capola has been reaching out to the attorney for the truck company. We are not getting return calls. She is not getting return calls from them. So the email I got back is we will issue, I will talk to Maureen Giusti tomorrow, and we'll issue them a violation.
Is it the third violation now?
I know.
I think there might have been at
I
least
know it's
two.
more than- They've had multiple violations in the past, and they have paid at least one time a penalty in the past. But, yeah, we got another email, I think that Brendan and you were copied on.
Yeah, Diane, yeah.
And I forwarded it on to Attorney Capola, and she said she's been reaching out to their attorney and to date, been unsuccessful getting them to return her calls. So we're going to issue a notice of violation.
The violation, so, for the benefit of the new council members, so it's over on Commerce Drive in East Berlin, there's a truck that repairs refrigerated units. And they do 24-hour repair, so trucks tend to pull off the road if their refrigerated unit has broken down, and there's houses on the street over. Unfortunately, a lot of trees have been taken down with some of the factories that have expanded over there, and they're not supposed to be running them at night. They're supposed to park over in the cul-de-sac. I thought that was the agreement, away from the residents.
Yeah.
But they're not doing that. I know we've had a couple cease and desist orders, and unfortunately the lady met with a couple of the residents there. They were upset. I don't blame them. 3 in the morning, they have a truck idling there, which they're not supposed to do. 2 violations, 3 violations, what's the next step? I mean, how many violations, corporate counsel, do you think? I mean, there's a point that they're just not listening, from what I gathered from the residents.
Well, at some point, you'll have to make a decision, Jack, about whether you want to pursue enforcement action against them. I don't know the dates of the prior notices of violation. I haven't seen them, so I don't know what the history is on
I'll
that.
talk with them tomorrow.
Yeah. If it's recent, then I don't know what another notice of violation is going to do. You might as well bring an enforcement action. But
Which would mean, so what happens with that?
sue them in court.
Yeah, okay, so
Yeah.
we might have to go down that road.
Seek injunctive relief.
Yeah, okay. Because, right, I know the attorney came in and got some information, I know,
Yep.
while in November, right, from the town planning office?
Yep.
But that attorney's not responding to?
Not responding to Jen.
All right, well, you know what? Sounds like we probably need to do that, because I don't think they're listening, from what the residents tell me. And did we ever post no idling signs, no parking signs on that street?
I'm going to have to go back. I don't think we did. I talked to, I think the police had, the police have issues on it.
Yeah, can we get that done? Because at least then and I don't want to type the, we talked to the police department, I hate to tie them up on that, but nonetheless, if they're out there at 3 in the morning, if they can go down and tell the truck, look, move.
Let's go to the police commission.
So then that's at least a parking violation to move them, and something else we can do, at least short term, if we have to go,
I mean, the police will probably tell you to put the signage up anyway, because
Yeah.
unless someone's
Yeah.
notified,
Right,
they
they
can
can't.
deny it.
Yeah.
So you have to
I
take
definitely-
away their plausible denial.
definitely put
We have to go through the police commission and have to approve
Yeah.
any signs we put.
Right.
So if we could get that done, because I think the residents asked me that they, I guess, the signs had been discussed, but I guess they never got up, they never got posted. So, and.
Part of the issue for those of us is that this is, a lot of the issue came up when a factory across the street expanded and removed tree line. And so then all of a sudden now they can see down there. And we've gone through several iterations of discussions on it, where at one point it was thought that a different factory was having a problem with their air conditioning or they're operating at night. So it's been going around, and we finally have concentrated on the truck highway. This has been discussion over a year.
Well, I mean, right, and that's why I don't blame the residents, that's why they're
Right.
upset. It's a year now that I think the trucks, from what they told me, the trucks went away for a while. For a short time.
For a while.
Yeah, and now they're back again, so it did help initially, so, anyway. Okay, just to finish, so we have just two meetings, motion to approve, I guess there's 3 of us here to approve.
Motion to approve the October 24th Town Council meeting minutes.
Second? Probably. I
Second.
guess. It's gotta be Peter.
Gotta be-
Oh.
I didn't work.
All those in favor?
There's only 3.
3 of us,
Aye.
aye.
And the rest of you abstain.
Have abstained. And motion for the November 21st.
Motion to accept the November 21st, 2017 Town Council meeting minutes.
Second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
We were all here.
So moved. All right, thank you very much. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, so moved.